so good to see you. If you can hear us and see everything, okay, this is the first time Mina and I are trying to go together on live. So I want to make sure that everything is good on your end. So if you could let us know, ladies, that you can see us, you can hear us, then we can begin because we're so freaking excited about this conversation.
Yay!
Yes. Well, before anything, welcome, my love. I'm so excited to have you. This is always my favorite kind of conversations when I get to have it with Mina. Okay, we're seeing thumbs up. So good. So good that I get to have this beautiful woman that you all know that I admire as a friend, as a mentor, as just a full embodiment of the work that I so stand firmly for. So it's just whenever we have conversations like this, it activates me, it makes me go to my next level. And I know you all love it because you keep asking for her. And again, rich and rising ladies, I love that. And it's so why not? Like we have these conversations almost like within ourselves, like once a month or once every 2 months. And I think that if other ladies were like a fly on the wall and could listen to it and hear to it, I think there's a lot of takeaways because these are the conversations that we have that may not be very normal, but we want to make it mainstream. We want women to start talking like this, and when they are getting together, have conversations that actually gets them to go higher as opposed to stay in that they're suffering or talk about the things that keeps them small, really. So no introduction needed, but I just want to let me know to say hello and just take it from here.
Yay! I love, love, love our conversations. One of the things that I hear from the ladies in my community so they understand is that when you start doing inner work and you leveling up, you realize that the rest of the world isn't really doing the inner work. And like, I'm not blaming anyone. Obviously, everyone's just kind of like on autopilot. People are surviving. It's luxury to be able to do inner work. But then you crave these conversations and these communities with people that get it. And Shahrzad is one of those people in my life. I would say she's number one because we started our business together. We get each other. We've been ride or die like since day one that we've been doing this. And I agree that we are friends, but we're peers, but then we're also like each other's mentors. Like I've learned so much from Shahzad, watching her just grow into her next level. Like every couple of months, it's like this woman just activates her quantum. And I just love her dedication to inner work, her family, her values, and my kids. The funny story, my kids say that she is the most feminine woman that they've ever heard. Because oftentimes when I'm talking to Shahzad, I'll be listening to her messages or we're on Zoom. They've heard her like voice and it's like, Mom, she's so feminine. She's so sweet. So they
What
love
a
you.
compliment! What a compliment! I received that wholeheartedly, and you're absolutely right. It's there is this connection that we have. I think because we began around the same time. I think definitely Mina started her inner work before me. That also it shows in her life, but the business part, there was so much of us looking at each other because we're both from the part of the world. We're not like Mina was born here. I was in US. I wasn't born in Canada, but we all were grew up with values from the Eastern culture, and then there was we went. I was thrown into the Western world, super confusing, and Mina, you went back and forth between East and West. So we were like, how do we live in this world where our identity is like not complete yet, right? So we are like, what is the right way of doing things? What is what is a woman? Because it's so
Funny.
confusing to be a woman in this world with values to be politically correct, but also be empowered, but not be empowered in such a way that you just empowerment, meaning that you have no value anymore, you do anything and everything, no accountability, and you think that what empowerment is. So I think that that's why we get each other really, really well, and we have our north stars as well to work towards what we want to be instead of what society or people around us tells us to be. So I think that has been the key here. And we were having a conversation this summer. This I literally remember it because I was at my mom's house actually. So I had my phone like in my old room, and we were talking about. I had just come from Joe Dispenza's retreat, and we were just catching up. I was telling her the things that I learned, and then I'm like, "What's new with you, Mina?" And she was like, "You know, the other day somebody for like made a comment on my YouTube that it's keep coming up, and I was like triggered by it a few times, and then because they were telling me I should write a book. Granted, Mina already has a book, but obviously like after all her evolution, there's other stuff that has obviously she's learned. And she was like, I wasn't gonna do it, and I was like thinking about why it triggers me. So I started to do my inner work, and then I wrote 3 chapters on my phone while I was on vacation, right? Like on the beach. So that's the kind of a woman that I get to have conversations with that, within like a split second, she makes a decision, she does it, and then she implements it. And then just what? Like it's 4 months later, we have this gorgeous book launched now. I had the privilege of reading it. I'm writing a foreword for it. And I just can't explain how much it means to me because obviously I adore Mina. And then, second of all, the book itself, it is just so beautiful, so empowering. It is like how to be a woman, an empowered woman. This is like your textbook. This is your manual. And I'm just so excited that you started to just write this fierce title, this savage, like the word that you like to use, and I absolutely love it. And you really, really wrote a book that added up or measured up to the title of it and the concept of it. So congratulations, my love. I'm so proud of you. I'm so honored that I got to be a little part of it. And now I just wanted to shout out from the top of the rooftops that this is the book that you need if you want to be successful in life. If you want to take the best of both worlds, the Eastern and the Western, because not one is better than the other, but you get to really combine and have your own flavor, whatever. Like it's not like this is, you should be like anyone else, but really take the lessons of it and start embodying it. And it's going to really help you. It's like your rite of passage to womanhood. And I really, really am excited that for Mina to talk about it a little bit, the birthing of the book, and basically let's talk about how to be a freaking savage and successful and stop our suffering, addiction to suffering. Yes?
Yeah, so here's what it looks like. It's like Shahrzad would say, it's my masterpiece because Shahrzad is all about the masterpiece woman. And just like you said, Shahrzad, it was I was live streaming as I always do, and several people in the comments were like, every time I would go live, you should write a book. And I will avoid like reading it out loud. And then I accidentally read it out loud, even, right before I was going to my St. Thomas intensive. And I read it, and then I could feel that I was very triggered by it. Like I was angry that why did people want me to write a book, which is so bizarre, right? So when I ended the live stream, finally, I'm like, I need to look at this. This is weird. So I went and I said, why are you getting angry? I wrote this in my journal. I said, why are you angry that people want you to write a book? That's generally a compliment, Mina. Like, what is going on, right? And then, using my own 6 step process, all of this junk started coming up, like all of these limiting beliefs, like, who do you think you are? You know, you don't know enough to write a book. Like all of this like junk started coming up, and literally I have to like pack my bags and leave to teach my, you know, my intensive, which is surprisingly, not surprisingly, it's called timeline jumping, right? So I'm like I'm gonna explore this later. And I closed my notebook and just like put it away. I didn't even work through the limiting beliefs at this time. But I think, as my assistant Haney said, she said, you've done this so many times that even though you think you didn't work them, they were working in behind the scenes. Like they were kind of like just happening. So I go and I to St. Thomas with my family, teach the intensive, and I say at the intensive to the girls, I'm like, something's happening. Like there's something. I don't know what it is. It's coming in as textures and flavors and smells, but I can't tell you what it is. It feels like I'm in the middle of a timeline jump. 2 days later, after the intensive, I'm sitting on the beach.
Mm,
Irfan's taking the kids to kayaking. He's like, "Do you wanna come?" I'm like, "No, I just wanna chill over here." So he leaves, and I'm laying down at the beach, and all of a sudden, I have this urge to pick up my phone, and so I'm, like, looking for my phone. It's, like, buried in sand. Like, I pick it up. I'm, like, dusting off the sand. I open up my phone, go to the notes section, and I write down "lady balls."
mhm.
And then I just start it just started coming out of me. I'm just writing stuff. I don't even know I'm writing a book yet. I don't know if this is a post. I don't know if this is an email. Like, because I often write, like, I'll get nudges and I'll start writing stuff, and then it'll end up being an email or a post on Facebook or something. So at
Mm,
this point, I don't know what I'm writing. And by the time they came back, I had 2 chapters, and that night, I told Irfan, I said, "I think I'm writing a book." Like, I wasn't even sure yet, like, what was happening, but it just started coming, through, and I think I those limiting beliefs that I had about writing this book, and then the funny thing is, Shahrzad, when I come back home, I remembered I already had a book. I had written a book in 2016, I don't know if you can see it, contained this
yeah.
I forgot. Not no one knew it. All those times where people were like, "Mina, you should write a book," I could have said, "I have a book." But, like, I had completely just erased this from my memory. I mean, again, limiting beliefs, we can't see ourselves sometimes for who we are, and I think that's where you really come into my life because at the time, I don't know if I think this is similar for you. I can't speak for you, but I'll say it's how it was for me. I think when I started my business, I still needed someone else that looked like me, believed things like me, that spoke like me, that could mirror back that you're on the right track, and
Mm,
you became that mirror for me. I was like, I remember being on Facebook, and your Facebook group showed up, and you had on an Indian outfit.
yeah.
So and then you were, like, teaching on, like, feminine energy and love, and I'm like, "Who's this chick? Is she Daisy?" So I click on it, and I didn't know this at the time that, that your husband is, Daisy, and so, we just connected, and, um, so this book just literally just came through. The entire thing, babe, was and this was completely channeled. I'm still looking at it saying, "This is so good, who wrote this?" Like, I still have those moments 'cause it just came through. I wrote it in 3 weeks, and
Hmm.
remember that I paused to go and refinish that book. So, in the middle of writing this book, I got this nudge that stop writing this book for a second and go and do a second edition of the first book, and I'm like, "Seriously? Like, you want me to write this book, now you want me to pause this book? What is happening?" So I go and I rewrote that book, just added, like, updates at the end, and then wrote another chapter, renamed it, redid the cover, launched that, and then came back. So the entire process was 3 weeks. The rest of the time was editing, formatting, like, everything
Yeah.
else. So this is when you, like, ride the flow wave versus trying to mentally create something, like, you collapse time.
Totally, totally. I love that. I love what you said about right at the beginning that it angered you. It made you feel angry when there people give us a compliment sometimes. Like you said, that when we are like when we don't see our own greatness, we can twist the words and make it mean something and it doesn't. Just the other day I was telling a woman, like, when people ask you, why are you still single? If it angers you, if a man asks you this on a date, if it angers you, look what's going on the inside of it. Instead of like, because if you were to think that this man is amazed by the fact that how amazing I am and someone hasn't snatched me yet. Why don't you think that instead of thinking, oh, he means something is wrong with me, that he's asking me this question, right? It all becomes our own projection when they say something. So it's always an invitation. And I love that you just show it. You're the full example of it, that when there is a comment like this, don't just ignore it. Take your notebook, write about it, and like your assistant says, like once you when you do this process, you don't even really need to go all the way through and then spend months, weeks and months and like a year on it. It becomes clear, super clear of why, what you need to do next, and there you go. Like within a couple of weeks, it all came together. And really, like when I read that book, it was like, wow, this woman is truly like in a full compass of what she teaches, and it is a masterpiece. I remember we even had the conversations about the title of the book, and whenever when she told me this, I'm like, I really really love this. And then it comes our negative conditionings, like what people are going to think about it. Are they going to think that this is like people that know me in my life, that, oh, like, is it too whatever? And we're like, no, you can't diminish the masterpiece, something that channeled through you, that is for you, because what others might say or might think. And I told Mina this when I was reading the book. My husband based that. I told him what the name was. It's like, that's a really really good name. That's a name that you want people to. If you're writing something about being a savage, it has to represent. You can't be flowery about it. You can't be nice about what would people approve of to write a book like this when you are writing a book like this, right? So I had to let her know that no, there is like even people from our culture. My husband is a very, although he lives in Canada, but he's an embodiment of an Eastern man. He really believes in those values. He's not politically correct. So he, when a man like this says that no, this is good, this is what it we need, that this is what we need to hear, and the right people in our lives always will tell us the truth and will encourage us to do the uncomfortable things. So again, that goes to show that, even a queen like Mina has her own stuff, but that's the whole process. That, like we were talking about in our last conversation, the inner work never stops. It really doesn't. There's no end to it. But if you commit to it, if you keep going at it, then your life really unravels before you, and you're waking up and like, how is this the life that I live? How is it that how did it all become like this? Because 10 years ago, 12 years ago, it was, if someone were to tell me that this gets to be my life, I'd be like, you're out of your mind, right?
So I have to say, Sir, that you sharing what your husband said was really significant for me, and I did tell you this, but I wanna say this again. So up until that point, only of men, of like traditional men, only Irfan and Arman, my oldest son, knew about the title. I hadn't even told my middle son yet because I was nervous. He's 13, like what is he gonna think? So only Irfan and Arman knew, and of course they were both very supportive. I had grilled Irfan like, "Are you sure with your family?" Like he was like, "No, if this is the title, it's the title. Like that's what it needs to be." I'm like, "I could change it." He's like, "No, there's no need to change it. It's perfect."
Mm,
So when your husband said that, it was like that last little bit of confirmation that I needed. So I'm so glad that you shared that. Like I needed to hear that. I kept every time after that, if I even had even the inkling of doubt, I went back to that. I'm like, no, look, like Eastern men, three Eastern, very traditional men have now confirmed that this is the perfect title and that's what it needs to be. So thank you for sharing that with me because I definitely needed to hear that.
of course, we do need that. We do need the confirmation. As powerful as we women are, um, it's important to take into consideration the people who matter, right? Like that, and that's the thing. I have clients that they're starting their own businesses, and that's a beautiful thing. And I went through the same thing as well. I remember when I started my business, as when I was a civil engineer, you know, and you're like, what would people think of it? Like, forget about this level of, growth that Mina has right now, but just, I have a master's degree in civil engineering. I work for the corporate, and now I'm going to call myself a love coach. Oh my God. People are going to think I'm bonkers. People are going to think that I've lost it. And again, seeing people like you, I think, like exactly like that, that's like this was the mirroring back that she's doing it. You also had a whole full business of being a real estate, right, agent, and having that. But it is okay to make the shift. It is okay to pivot. It is okay to do these scary things and let the world know a little bit. Like I remember, like I need to like block all these people that may think I'm crazy. And we have that right to, when we are starting off, we are so scared of judgment. We're so scared of people saying things that would demotivate us. And I tell that to my clients, that start where you are, and you don't have to shock yourself right away. It's okay to start to dip your toes in the water and begin. You don't have to announce it to the world and call your cousins and tell them that you're doing this already, but don't make it a stop sign, a full on stop and going back. Just do whatever you need to do to keep going. And that's what I think our evolution, especially yours, Mina, was, because I remember listening to you. Oh, I always listen to you, but at the beginning, the way that you approach things, and this exactly the same thing happened to me. It was very different. It was a lot more delicate. It was a lot more making sure that you're not ruffling too many feathers, and right.
Mhm.
And talk a little bit about that. At what at why was that for you, and what made the shift for you to your messaging is like, if you go back and listen to me now, I don't know, 5 6 years ago, as beautiful as it is and still life changing, there's no question. I hope that those videos forever are still watched, but there's a different flavor, and I would love for you to talk about that a little bit, of what made you claim your voice like you did, and what was that like for you.
So that's such a good point. I always talk about that inner work happens in layers, and you talk about the same thing, that it's sometimes you think you've dealt with something, and then it'll show up in a new way or in a bigger way because there's another layer of it that needs to be shed.
Yeah.
So, like, it was like for the last 15 years, every year, I was like, "That's it, I'm done with the people pleasing." And then every year, it was like, "No, I'm not really done with it. It's still running the show underneath." And so there's another layer. And in the beginning, we can blame ourselves and be like, are you serious? Like, I've done this already. You think you're going backwards, but you're not. You're just something that really is that ingrained. Like, I talk about it um, in the book where, my parents were like that. So,
Hmm.
like, it's like infected through the womb, and they
Yeah.
say the motherline wounds especially are harder to break. So I got it from both my sides. So it's not like, oh, Mina learned, she read a book and she's like over her people pleasing. It runs deep, right? And then a lot of the advice out there was also like very superficial. There is advice out there for people that aren't really people pleasers, like, they're not infected in the womb, but they're, like, maybe having a day, and then they can, like, have a conversation about boundaries, and then everything's good. When I would try to follow those advice, people would twist and manipulate it, and before I know it, I'm, like, doing more for them. So I'm like, "This advice doesn't work." Like, sitting people down and having conversations, and so I started realizing that this was really deeply ingrained, and this may be something that I really came here to work through, and I might have to deal with this for the rest of my life. But
Mm.
I know that I don't want to infect my children, and I want to give them a better option. So what's happened is that every year, it's like there is another layer of that shedding where I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm still doing this here. I'm not doing it here, but I'm still doing it here, here, and here." And then I'll rework the stuff and then not do it there, and then it'll show up somewhere else. This is not a lack of progress. This is you shedding, like, deeper layers of it. So, I think when I came in, that at that time, Shahrzad, that was me really putting myself out there and, like, claiming my voice. But every year, there's been a new level of that. I was having a conversation with my new social media manager, and he was like, you've softened up again. There's still a part of you." He's like, "I'm looking at two videos of yours from 2 years ago. You were bolder there. You were more savage, and then you've almost gone a little bit backwards. What's going on there?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, I know what's going on." I had a conversation when I started doing really savage content and really being me. My channel started blowing up really quickly, and I didn't have the container for it at that time.
Mm.
So the story was, at that time, you're too direct. You're too bold. You should activate more of your mother energy. like, you don't have enough of your mamta energy going on, like, bring more of that.
Mm.
So, I started, like, softening up, still saying what I need to say, still, like, standing behind what I believe, but, like, softening up, even though that goes be I don't believe that grown people, you should need to mother grown people, but I started softening up my message, and he was like, "Yeah, let's not do that." So he said, this was a really key point. He said, is this the real you, and that was you putting up a mask, or was that the real you?" And I said,
Mm.
that was the real me. This is me trying to be more motherly. And he said, "Thank God. I was afraid that this was the real you." And he's like, Can we just bring the real you back?" And so now what I've activated is even a deeper level. And so it's interestingly enough, I wrote this book before we had that conversation. And so I realized that my real self, my authentic self, my very directness, very bluntness, say it like it is, it just matches the real me. And that I don't need to soften it up, and I do not need to be mothering grown ass people. So that's
You Amen to that. Amen to that. It is, you're absolutely right. The book itself, it is direct, and it is going to be I think if a content is not triggering you, you're not going to grow. Like, look at the way that you wrote the book. Somebody triggered you worked through it, and then boom, there's a masterpiece. And so if we are going to be tiptoeing, walking on eggshells, making sure that you're saying the most perfect thing, that it is just so soft to land in. Like, who has ever done something great from the comfort of their bed, like being cozied up? Like, you can't do that. You can't be mothered and cuddled. You have to do that for yourself. Yes, you have that inner child that needs the you loving yourself, but also it doesn't mean that anytime a child needs ice cream for breakfast, lunch, dinner, you because you love it, you're gonna give it to her. But what's that gonna do? What good does that do? So I love the way that the book is direct and it is savage and it is going to be activating you. And I invite you to freaking, first of all, go get the book. It's in the link if you haven't already. What's wrong with you? But and stay with the teachings. If something triggers you, thank God. I really am glad that it does, because if there is just like a really wonderful read for you, then there is nothing really like you got from it, because you just enjoyed like a Netflix show, that it was something that you're at, but it is meant to trigger you. It is meant to help you to work through whatever angers you, whatever makes you to think twice and want to like stop it. Because God knows, when I was doing the work, every single day I was triggered, every single day, because it was a mirror of all the things that I needed to work on, and I had to take responsibility for everything that I didn't know. And you can go into feeling sorry for yourself. This is a common comment that I get all the time: I wish I knew this sooner. Oh my God, now I'm in my 40s, now it's too late. I'm like, well, you can think that, and then for that rest of your life just keep on feeling sorry for yourself. Or you could be like, now what? One of the my favorite things that I tell my clients always is that a victim says, why me? A victor says, now what? Now that you know what, with whatever happened to you or whatever you attracted into your life, doesn't matter, is that what are you going to do with the new information? What are you going to do with the things that you have learned? Are you going to drag the same luggage? You know, everyone has baggage. Or are you going to unpack it, take the lessons, but actually leave the crap behind that you don't need anymore, and have a lighter baggage? So this is why I again go circling back to, we it's an evolution. I do wholeheartedly believe that the lessons that we need to learn, every one of us who has incarnated in whatever we chose to be, it's not going to be done with. Like, I have the exact same people pleasing thing. I used to be terrified of being criticized because wound because I was so afraid. It meant, like, it would reconfirm of what I believed about myself, right? Like, whatever triggers us is what what I already believe to be true. So you're poking at it, so it hurts more. So just the other day, one of my videos went viral, and I had all these men coming at me for what I was saying. It was about the whole 50-50 thing and don't do it. And I had so many angry men that I started laughing at when I was reading the comments, I was laughing. And I remember even if a year ago I had that many comments from men, I would just be in a fetal position thinking that, oh my God, like what did I do? Oh, I need to just delete the account. I should just like I would just go into complete paralysis. And that shows that, like you said, the container, like if you want to hold more, you have to be able to hold more, not just the good stuff. All of us can receive comments that you're so great. I love you. This changed my life. Of course, I can hold it. Give me more. I can hold all of that. But can I hold the criticism? And that's my work.
Mm.
Can I hold myself and now get to a point that be like, of course you think that way because you want everything catered to you. You want everything to be easy for you. Obviously, there are people like that. And can I stand in my truth and not get scared? And a funny thing was that how you can go, this is just between me and Mina, like for those of you who are not YouTubers, it's okay, but you can go to to your back end and see where people came from, and then and what how YouTube suggested another from where to watch this, and guess where those all men came from. The video that they all came from was that how to make a woman horny without touching her. This is the type of men that came into my channel, and they're telling me that I am wrong. So who am I taking feedback from? If I was to imagine, if I was to be scared that, oh my God, men are angry with me. And they all call this as a high value man, as a man who's very successful. They were telling me, I'm like, really? You watch that and you come to my video and you call yourself a high value man? And that's what I want to say to you. Another message is that just be careful who you're taking feedback,
Mm.
what meaning or how important you make someone's opinion of you mean, and be discreet. Yes, we were just talking about that, like Mina that was saying that her husband, her son, and someone like my husband, they're proven to be high value men. They are worthy to know what their opinion actually matters. But there's a lot of noise out there. Who do you
Mm.
want to please? Do you want to please everybody? Not everyone likes chocolate. Even you can't make every single person on the planet to like the same thing. Or do you want to be liked by the right people? And I think that that's what is so beautiful about your book, is that not everybody's going to like it, and that's great. But the people who are on the right path to find their truth and live a life that is so beautiful, like Mina, that the way that you created a life that you loved. It might not be for everybody, but for those who are, that is an example of it. So I just wanted to once again talk about the fact that your container, your inner work, all of that is it's going to be a work that you will do forever and more. And trust me that there is more goodness that comes on it, because when you grow your container, you are going to get more of the good stuff, and then the bad stuff you can just toss it a lot quicker, as opposed to be like, no, I'm just letting go of everything now. I don't need to do anything because I'm so afraid of what that means if I was to receive more of those criticism.
I
Yeah.
love that. Oh my god, I did not know that there was a feature like that on the backhand where you can see, that is so interesting, but I think I just had a huge aha moment just from that, like, where are these people coming from, right? Like, what's their agenda? Like, what are they trying to do? And then here you are empowering women, but they don't want, they don't want women empowered, and then that's the person that we're gonna be triggered by or water down our message by, so that is
Yeah.
so gold. That is gold. I think another thing that I wanted to make sure that came through really in this book is going back to what I said, that when I would take the advice of other people, like, who are not people pleaser, they would be like, "Well, have you considered sitting that person down?" And I'm thinking, "Yeah, every time I sit this person down and have a conversation, they wash the floor with me." Like, all of a sudden, they've convinced me that I'm the one at fault, and I'm doing more for them, and, like, and then receiving more negativity. So what we have to know that those of us that are really like this could be akashic, like this could be stuff from past incarnations, right? Or it could be stuff that your parents, your grandparents literally passed down through the womb to you and now is deeply ingrained. And you're going to almost have to overcorrect. That's why I call it, savage, not being kind,
Yeah.
because you already are kind. That's why you end up being in these situations. We don't have to make, people that are already kind kinder. That's a big mistake, actually, right? And this is one of the big problems I have with the love and light community. Like, I am big on spirituality. It's like everything to me. However, I think a lot of people in the love light spiritual community are preaching to the choir and like making them worse, because now they're telling them turn the other cheek, and and just be kind and be empathetic. No, that's we're already that.
Yeah.
Okay, we have too much of that. We need to actually activate our savage side so that when we go the other direction hard, we actually land in the middle.
Yeah.
So, yes, evil people, evil savage people don't need this book. They already know this stuff. They know more than us, right? Like, they know how to be almost animals and manipulate you and use advantage of you. But people that are like us, kind people, really loving people, really compassionate people, we don't need to be having conversations with people. We need to change how we're showing up. And from there, what I've realized is 99% of the times I don't even have to have a conversation with someone. I just have to change my own energy and my own behavior. And then the 0.1% of the time I might say something, but it's like very differently received than if I like sat someone down and had a boundaries conversation. I have so many stories of how that like ended up like worse for me trying to do that, because those people are master manipulators and
Definitely.
they will twist it, and before you know it you're like catering to them even more, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought I went in trying to set a boundary, and like, how is it all my fault and now I'm doing more?
So true. It is so true. You're absolutely right. Like they can twist the words between being more spiritual and being your. My favorite is that like if you're not really in it for the money. So this comes in the business a lot for me. Like you would have dot dot dot. You if you weren't really doing this for the money. I just want to connect to you from your soul that we as women who are doing this kind of a work, this business, then we should be making exceptions. This comes up a lot when it comes to people defaulting on their payments, or they want to I even told you right, like when I was reading your book that something like that came up for me, and I had that moment. I'm like, thank God I'm reading this, because I already am. I don't want to be bragging about it, but I am a kind person.
You are.
Like I can I am somebody that will, when if I need someone that is really in need, it would be my second nature is to go and help them, right? But when people start to target you, know exactly, and that's my karma, that is my evolution as well, that be kind to yourself first and foremost before you're kind to other
Yes.
people, right? Otherwise, I'm no longer kind, I'm manipulative. I'm only being kind to get your approval. I'm only being kind to make you like me and not be, I'm mad at me, because I can't hold if someone is mad at me. I can't hold it if someone is not going to be saying Shahrzad is a good person. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is something that I believe that every woman, if you're going through anything that is, you already have a good heart and you're still not succeeding in life, you're not killing it, I think that this is the book that you need, because that archetype in you, the savage part, the one that takes a stand for yourself, for what you believe in, or what you need in order to go to the next level, that's missing. And I think this is the part I would love your thoughts on this as well, is that I have a lot of women that come to me and make a comment that Shaz, I'm doing everything that I can. Like I'm doing the doing. I'm doing my, I'm showing up, whether it is in dating or whether it's money, and I'm still not succeeding. And they're really good-hearted people. It's not like, oh, that there is anything in terms of like shadow work, or not shadow work in terms of like their karma that they need to work on. And I think it's this part that's missing. So if you have a message for those people who are really on it, but when it comes to their results that they're seeing, even when they're at it, the good hearted people, they're not seeing them the results that they want. What are your thoughts on that they need to work on?
Oh my goodness, the savage energy part for sure, for sure. The thing is that we now have like more than I've been aware of this for 20 years, but I'm sure this is research for longer than 20 years, that people who are predatory in nature, so like evil savage people, these are people that came here to abuse people, to use people. Them and good people who will not pass a good opportunity because you're like just available and you're just catering to them. Both can read that lack of savage energy, meaning you're over giving people pleasing ways in your energy. So, they've studied convicted rapists, serial killers, like people who are waiting to basically be, executed. They
Yeah.
studied these people, and every single one of them said that they choose it. So the question was, how did you choose your victims? This was like across the board, one of the questions that they were all
Mm,
given, and they all said that they can read trauma on the person and know that this is going to be an easy prey. And so when further probe like how they can read this trauma, the answers that they gave, like I still have every time I talk about this, I still have chills. And this is 20 years ago I watched these videos. Like this was at university. So I
yeah.
still have chills from it. They when they described it, it was almost as if we chose like think of a predator in the animal kingdom. If you chose like a tiger, a cheetah, like something like a big predator, and you somehow gave them the power to speak English, and they would say things like, "I can smell it, I can," like it's like when, if you're bleeding, you don't wanna be in the water near sharks, they can smell the blood and come.
Mhm.
It was like that. It was so animalistic, their descriptions, that I still have chills, like, decades later, and I was like, "Oh my god, they can they're animals. They can animalistically smell trauma on us." It's like the equivalent of us bleeding and near sharks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the only solution is to heal. It's the only solution, because then you are not sending that you like there isn't trauma in your morphogenetic field that they can see. And this isn't just evil savage people, even good people will take advantage of you. People pleasers have the ability to turn good people into predatory people, because I know that the things that my mom's family did with her, they don't do all of that stuff with other
Very
relatives.
true.
My
Yes.
mom allowed it. Like, here's a woman passing out money. Why would you not take it? Right? And then it's never enough. I want more because you want more of a share. So you have to heal. And these women that are out there doing everything, like, same as my clients, like these are the women, these are the good women, right? Like they went to college, they did what their parents said, they checked all the boxes, they dress nice, they look nice, they did all the things, and yet they can't get the right people or the right opportunities. And the thing is that there is a part that of you that needs to be in that savage where you can grab it, where
Mm,
you can like have it, when you can hold it. And this is very different than chasing energy. People pleasing energy can come with chasing energy. This is like, this thing is mine.
yeah.
I have it. I got it. And that also enhances again your manifestation powers, because now you're deciding, you're owning it. And that's why my mission is to make what I say moms and dads dangerous, right? Like you have your savage energy and you send out this field of protection to your family and to your business and then to your neighbors and then to your community. Like I want you to be so activated and embodied in your savage energy that they not only skip you in your home, they skip the 4 homes on each direction, because they're like, "We don't mess with these people. Like, these people are not, the victims that we go after." And think about it, every woman did this. then eventually, like, we'd restore that harmony where providers and good people used to outnumber the bad people. We're
Mhm.
headed in the other direction. Like, if you understand how evolution works, we're headed really strongly in the other direction, and we have to stop.
Yeah. Absolutely. Amen to that. I really, really loved everything that you said, but the whole smelling it on the person, it is so true. It is from every I love looking at things from different perspectives. You know, the whole, even if you look at it from the manifestation of it, that you are a match for that energy. So of course it's going to gravitate towards it. That person with that kind of um basically animalistic predatory energy is going to be drawn to the person that is a reciprocal of that, right? And so if you are going to be nice and kind to everyone because love and light, um but you're not going to invite a wolf to your house because love and light. You are going to protect yourself. You have to have
Totally.
those boundaries, and you have to have the same thing in every aspect of your life. And like you said, even we good hearted people are not going to pass on something that is a cherry on top for them. Why would they? Like, yeah, how it doesn't even cross to their minds, because if they are, you know, they're somebody that are like, well, if they didn't want to do it, they wouldn't do it. Who am I to say no to the blessing that is coming to me? Then that's the fact, right? So and these are really important moments that I hope that you all are paying attention to, that Mina is saying, that it is your responsibility to heal, to really work through what you need to work through. Be kind to yourself first and foremost, and be willing to piss people off. Be willing to be called a bad person, a selfish person, a person that is all in it for their own money or whatever. Or for, if you're talking about the dating part, oh my god, the messages that I get when it comes to that, well, what if I lose him, what if I do this? I'm like, what are you losing? If you set a boundary, if you're saying that no, I'm not going to jump into bed with you, and he goes and finds someone else, did you really lose something? Did you, is that a loss? If you take a stand for no, I'm not going to move in with you until, I'm not going to commit my entire self to you and be a wife without being claimed wife and give you all the benefits of it. And then you'd be like, no, I need to know if we will work first before committing to you. Did you really lose someone if he walks away from you? Or did you, thank God, let go of someone that just was just going to ride the ride for as long as it took? And then boom, when a woman came that really claimed herself and her boundaries, then her then he would want her, because that's the thing with that as well. There are good men out there that you, with your people pleasings, can just have them take advantage of you and then be gone. It's not that all great men, there's only like, if he's a good guy he would never do it. No, I think
Mm-mm.
that there are many guys out there that are really good and they're looking for a wife, and if you're going to give it to them and jump into bed, they will gladly take it, but they're not going to marry you. That's the trade-off.
Exactly. I think the biggest thing that people have to realize, hear this all the time, and I'm like, we have to cut this out. We have to cut this bullshit off. Well, if he was a good person or if she was a good person, she would know better. They don't. The thing that used to, oh my God, this was such a repeating pattern in my life, Shahrzad, like, where people would take advantage of me and then act like they did me a favor.
Yeah.
And, like, good like, friends, family members, and so, there's I'm like, "What is it about me that, like, people wanna take advantage of me, but then also they think it would be like, "I used you and abused you, you're welcome," was the energy that they were sending. So, there are people, especially men, oh my god, they've done so many studies now where, this one is super disturbing to me. They studied 3,000 good men. These were like, college students, like good men, like, good families. And they asked them about certain things about like taking advantage of women. Like, there's certain words you can't say on YouTube, so I'll
Mm.
skip them. And they were like, absolutely not. That is horrible. Like those people should be, executed and all this stuff. They were saying all this stuff. And then they showed them pictures to get them aroused
Mhm.
and then asked the same questions to the same men. They changed their answers.
Wow.
And what they summarized from this study is that when a man is aroused, he perceives your responses, your smile, your hi, like normal stuff that you might be doing as sexual advances, and then justifies things that normally under normal circumstances he himself would say, "Oh no, that's not okay. No, no, no." He justifies it saying you asked for it. That's what you wanted. You agreed to it. This is super disturbing,
It
but
is.
if you actually understand evolution and how we evolved, you start understanding that there is a very biological, animalistic side to us. Yes, we're more conscious now. Yes, we get to decide. Yes, all of that. But please do not walk around expecting people just to know better. Like those feminists that say, well, we should be able to walk around naked in the middle of the night in the back alley and like, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, I should be able to put my hand in a lion's mouth. Like, I should be able to put my hand, even my head, in a lion's mouth, and he should know
He should
better.
know better. He
He should
should
know
know
better.
better. It's
He
it's
just should. Come on, okay? Come on.
seriously.
We are
That's what
a
I mean by
beautiful.
empowerment, right? That's what I mean, that the empowerment doesn't mean stupidity. Empowerment doesn't mean that you get to do whatever you want and have no consequences. And to that, as disturbing as that study is, but it makes sense, right? Because in, what happens when a woman has intercourse with a man? Her body immediately starts to create oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone that you have with your child. That is literally what we have be designed to do, to bond with a child and see no flaws whatsoever anymore, and just unconditionally love on that child. Even if it's not the most beautiful baby in the world, a mother will see the baby as the most beautiful, perfect thing. No more flaws. Literally, that's why you don't want to have intercourse with men early, because you will no longer see the person's flaws. That person become all the blind spots that you could objectively see no longer is there, because now this you have been born with this hormone so that you would bond with that person and you will stay with that person. So when you are going against what you've been designed, so you jump into bed with a man that is full of red flags, like he's there's a red flag right here, you're like, which one? I don't see it anymore. I he's But he makes me so happy, I love him so much, I can't live without him. That's what happens, because your body was designed that way so that you wouldn't leave him very, very quickly at the drop of everything. But this is when we get so confused that, oh, even though I know he has all these problems, but I still love him so much, I still want him so much. The same thing happens biologically to another man, that he just needs to reproduce and have a lot of babies, so then whatever signal he gets from you now is like, well, it's consensual, so we must be on the same page. But it's not. So it you have to be smarter than that. Don't make dumb decisions thinking that that's you being in your power when you're walking into a lion's den and expecting him to know better. And also the same thing goes for you, that you're like, no, I can actually have intercourse, no problem whatsoever, and I won't get attached. And then boom, you're attached and he's a walking red flag and you still want to marry him, and you're like, how do I make him marry me? No, that's not the right question.
No, run in the other direction. How can I make you run in the other direction is a better question.
Seriously. We laugh, but it is the sad truth. Honestly, yeah. So that was again, we get to empower ourselves with information, or you get to be angry, or you get to be informed. And that's your choice. Sure, you there is as it would be a perfect world if everybody was full of integrity, everybody was so capable of not acting out of whatever, like animal instincts or their trauma. But it's not, and it's your responsibility to heal what you need to heal, to say no when you need to say no, to say yes when you want to say yes, and make decisions. This is what I always tell my clients, that are good for now and good for later. There's a lot of decisions that you make that it feels good for now. You can have it that said, "Oh, I'm sad. This ice cream feels like a really good decision for now," but a tub of ice cream later, you feel bloated and you feel sick. It's not a decision that's good for later. And I think that Lady Balls will be really helping women in that case of really changing their identity and start making decisions that truly are good for now and good for later. So I don't want to take, we're almost at 1 hour and I can talk to you forever and ever, but I want to respect your time. Thank you so much, Mina, for being here, for your beautiful energy, as always, for your wisdom, for me and for my community. We love you so much. And I want you to, if there's any last messages, any last, I love that section of the book, Be a Bitch Once, but that if you had any lessons that you just want to finish off with, we would really appreciate it.
Um, I love what you said about good for now and good for later. And I'm going to say that the later actually extends even further beyond you. Like the decisions that you make are good for you now and good for you later, but they also impact your future generations. They also impact other women. Like for example, decisions that I've made that Shahrzad as my younger sister, as my friend, like they impact her because she's like, oh, okay, well, if Mina's doing this, right? And decisions that Shahrzad has made has empowered me, has impacted me. So I think this is such a it's really our birthright, but it's also our duty to get rid of this part of us that's wounded, to get rid of this people pleasing, to get rid of all of these yucky things that we've picked up maybe in the womb or, you know, in conditioning. And of course, I don't blame parents. They did the best they could from the level of consciousness they had, but it is our responsibility. You know, we are the most educated as women we've ever been. We have the most rights now. We're the healthiest, we're the most empowered. We have access to opportunities that we never did. No other woman ever had opportunities like this. And not all the women, even on the planet, have that yet.
Yes.
So it is not only your birthright, it is also your duty to do the inner work. And I know it's not always easy. It's an investment of, you know, time, energy, resources, blood, sweat, tears, like all the things, right? But we have to do it. We have to do it. You matter. Your time, your energy, your healing matters, and it impacts so many more people that you even realize. So even my girlies that are like, "Well, I'm not having planning on having babies." First of all, let me tell you how many women in my container have changed their mind after they did their inner work because they realized that decision was coming from a wounded place. And secondly, even if you don't have kids, there are people watching you. There's other women, there's nieces and nephews, there's sisters, there's this society, the world is watching you, and don't you want to set a better example of what's possible so you can have it all, and through your overflow everyone else can have that hope and they can see that example and that role model. Babe, do your inner work, just do it. Like I promise you, you can have whatever you want if you invest in doing inner work, and it compounds every year. That's the beautiful part. It
Mm.
compounds, it becomes easier, and you become this shining light and beacon for the rest of the planet. You become what I call a frequency like healer, right? Like your existence starts healing people. Like you being alive is a gift to the planet when you do your inner work.
I love what you said because you're so right that the decisions that are good for now and good later really does trickles down, you know? Like you said that you and I, like looking at you with your doing work inspired me and vice versa, and that's how the world changes. And no, you don't, if you don't want to be on YouTube or whatever, it doesn't mean that, but people watch you, people feel you, little girls watch us, and you're absolutely right. We have no excuse. Our parents hadn't one tenth or 100th of what we have now access to. We
Mhm.
have no excuse. And again, if money is an issue that you can't invest in your bigger containers, this book, you have no excuse not to get this book. And I, as someone that read it there is no gatekeeping here. Mina really gives so much. There's already so much that if you go and get this book and implement it, your life is going to change, and money will be the last thing that is a problem in your life ever. So I really want to encourage you to get the book, enjoy it, really implement it, be with the lessons. Again, if it triggers you, good. If it doesn't trigger you, read it again. You should get triggered and go through things more carefully, and welcome to your next evolution. Thank you so much, Rena. This was
Thank
so
you.
good for my heart and soul and for my community. We love you so much. Thank you for being here. And oh, did I forget to mention that the book is already in the number one bestseller, like on Amazon? Like that. That was a minor thing that you I forgot to mention. It shows the caliber of the woman that she is. That when it comes to attraction and just having, when she puts out something, the world responds the way it does, because it is, you've already proven the work that you do is truly truly impactful and life changing, and I hope it stays number one for years to come, because it is just that good. So get the book, ladies. Get it as a gift for your girlfriends, for the people that you want to change their lives, and hopefully one woman at a time, one girl at the time, we get to just go towards the right direction, because the world needs it more than ever.
Amen. Thank you so much, Shahrzad. This was so much fun. I always love talking to you. We're all Shahrzad and I do this all the time, but it's so nice to bring it to the world. So thank you for having me. Thank you for everything with the book, the support, the love, the sisterhood. I love you.
I love you too. I'm so proud of you. You're all welcome. All the messages that are coming in. We love
Oh,
doing this
thank
for
you.
you, and we are going to do it together. And we'd love to hear when you read the book your biggest takeaways. Write it in the comments. Obviously, go follow Mina if you have don't already. But yeah, it's what as a coach, nothing fulfills me more than when I see women actually implementing and learning and changing. It's, all the nice comments are wonderful. Love it. Like I said, keep them coming. But there's a reason we do this work. I could have been a civil engineer for the rest of my life. I know Mina doesn't need to do this work, but there's a reason that we do it. And hopefully, we see more and more of the impact that it has in your lives, and we just keep rising together. I love you, Mina. Thank you once again. Have the most beautiful day, gorgeous.
Thank you, babe. Talk to you
Bye.
later.
Bye.
Bye.